Welcome to another vintage fishing reel service video. In this episode we have a couple of Zebco made lake and trails, and if you look on the reels it'll say copyright 1991 Zebco. So apparently this is basically like a trade reel, and so Zebco made them for the Lake and Trail brand, which from my understanding was associated with the Meyer retail stores. And so Zebco made them for Meyer to be sold under Meyer's trademarked or registered Lake and Trail name. And there was apparently a lot of different sporting goods sold through Meyer that had their Lake and Trail name. Now these are combos, and they came at least this. So the Lake and Trail name, Zebco made a number of different model reels that carried that name. I think one of them was the ZX22. Hang on, let me get one of those. Okay, so this is a Zebco branded ZX22, and apparently I think there were two different front cover types of this. One was kind of a longer and dented, and there was different numbers of slots and things, but apparently there was a Lake and Trail version of that. There was another Lake and Trail that was like the 300, and so on and so forth. But these might be a little less common than the ZX22s. These are basically the Zebco 202 version of the Lake and Trail. So these are basically Zebco 202s that are called Lake and Trail. And unlike the ZX22, which has no drag, these being 202s actually have a drag, which for a fisherman like me, that would be more desirable, having a drag. They come on a rod color just like the reel, and I don't know if there were more colors on this particular 202 version of the Lake and Trail. I think not. I think it was just orange and bright yellow, but the rods were called sizzle sticks, and here you can see the orange one, sizzle stick, and these still have the UPC label / price tag on the rod. And because you can't see it or anything, it's all mucked up, I'll be taking that off. But it's going to be simple. I've done 202s. You know, there's slight differences among the various years of 202s, but I thought I'd go ahead and do a video of servicing one of these, because there may be somebody out there that isn't a collector of reels or isn't a connoisseur of reels, and they have one of these, and maybe they want to give it to their kid, and maybe it's tight, and they don't know how to service it, and they don't know that it's the same as a black 202 or a green 202 or any of the other colors of 202s. They're just looking to find a video that looks like their reel, and so I'm going to do it anyway. And plus, having a little info out there about the history of them is good. These were not cataloged in Zebco because they were made for a different company, and so I don't know how long they were made. I just know that the copyright date, the earliest date, is 91. But so yeah, I'm gonna dig into one of these and do a video on it. And these aren't really tight. You know, a lot of these things were bought what I call vacation reels. Somebody went on vacation, got them on a whim or whatever, and maybe they got used a few times and that was it. I suspect a lot of these never were serviced by the owners. They just used them until they didn't use them anymore, or until they didn't work right anymore due to lack of servicing or whatever. But shockingly, these aren't all grease bound. They still move nicely, but we'll get in there and see what they're like, and get. One of the reason I'm doing this is because I don't like to put rods and reels that I've acquired away. on display or in my rod racks until they've been serviced. So these are in my way, and I want to put them on the rod racks, and that's why I'm doing these now and getting them out of the way. And I figured I'd do a video while I was at it. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go off camera here, and well, I suppose I could do it on camera. Just take off the reel from the rod. Okay, and then this one. And I'm only going to do, I'll just pick one of these two to do, and then I'll do the other one off camera. There's no sense doing them both. So, get those rods off. And this one looks dirtier, so I think we'll do this one first. And so we're going to start with unscrewing the front cover. And, oh, I so want to go caveman with a pair of pliers here, but I suppose I'll do what's the right thing and find a confound. Oh, maybe I don't have to do that either. Looks like this is loose on there. So take that nut off. Take the spinner head off. Make sure your drag is turned. God, that thing's tight. Almost looks like somebody's been in here with some white lithium grease. Okay, the drag is still a little tight. Turn that all the way to the left. And that way, in this one, it probably wouldn't matter much because the drag is coming from the side of the spool, not from underneath it. So it might not have affected the tightness of this E-clip much anyway, but it's always a good idea to turn the drag off before you take things apart. So we can pull the spool off, and I do see old, nasty, dried up white lithium grease in there. Not the best grease to use for fishing reels. You want to get a real grease, an authentic real grease. I get this, it's probably more expensive actually than if I just get a big tub of pin grease or whatever, but I get this stuff from Walmart, real grease and real oil, and that's mostly what I use. Alright, so there's your cover, your back cover, your spinner head. Let's get this nasty line off of the reel, or off the spool. There. Get that in the parts tray. Now we can pull out the pinion gear. Again, more white lithium grease. Not the best option. Not terrible, but not really. It's not kosher. It's not kosher. Confounded thing. And then take the handle nut off, and the handle, and then out pops the main gear and the anti-reverse, and those go in with this more acute claw end of the anti-reverse pawl facing towards the top of the reel, facing up towards the drag adjustment knob. Luckily, you know, if a 202 is broken somewhere, it's oftentimes this frame here in this area, or a lot of times the post for the drag tension bar will be broken. There are fixes for that, but it's not fun. At any rate, that's all there is to tear down. So I'm going to go off to the sink, clean that all up. I'm going to take WD-40 to get all this old grease and white lithium grease off of there. Anywhere else where there's grease, and then finally with a toothbrush and Dawn dishwashing soap, scrub everything down, get off all the WD-40 and oil residue, get a cotton swab down into the journals, especially here where the main gear goes, and down through here where the pinion gear shaft goes. Get those all cleaned out. And so I'm going to go do that, and I'll be back just like that. Alright, let's get all the parts out here. Pretty straightforward and easy. By the way, I got these two combos for $5 each. And that was thanks to a friend of mine who picked them up in a different city for me. And unknown to me, he dickered them down from $10 each to $5 each. But these are a little bit more uncommon, and with their good-looking bright colors, being Zebco, you know, a trade reel for Zebco, being somewhat uncommon, they're a little bit more collectible. So, at any rate, let's start off by greasing and oiling the main gear. Just pack the teeth with the reel grease, and then oil the main gear shaft. And then you're going to want to place your anti-reverse pawl in with this more sharp, acute tip facing upwards towards the drag wheel, and then slide your main gear in there. See the anti-reverse is working. There's forward, there's reverse, won't go backwards. At that point, you're going to want to lock in your main gear by putting the handle on and the handle nut. And while we're thinking about it, we can lubricate that handle knob by a couple drops of oil in there. I've already rinsed this out good with WD-40, so now it's time to lubricate. And then we can grease and oil the pinion gear. So greasing the teeth and oiling. We can pull this up, get some oil up underneath that, up along the shaft, up here, and slink that back down in there. And now we can grease the spindle, because when the drag is engaged, the spool will be moving around this spindle. And we want to get a little grease on the top of that too, because that little ramp is what activates and deactivates the pickup pin. Alright, so now we're ready to put, now in order to put the spool on, you slide it on there, and then this drag is already at the lowest setting, but you want to pull that bar up a little bit. I think no, it ain't quite at the lowest. And slip it over the ratchet part of that spool, so that it ratchets it like that. It's in place. And then we're ready for our E-clip to secure the spool in place. And then we're ready for our spinner head. We want to put a little drop of oil on that pickup pin, and or not pickup pin, the actuator for to drop the spinner head down, but get that lubricated. Line up the D-shaped hole with the D-shaped pinion gear shaft, and get your nut tightened into place. Okay, then I'm going to take the whole body or the whole thing and slink it back into the rear part of the body and screw on the cap clockwise, trying not to get it cross-threaded. Wipe it off. And we've got a really nice look. And these do fade in the sun. So if you're keeping them for use and you want them to still look good, or you're going to put them on display, keep them out of direct sunlight. These have not been in direct sunlight and are basically like new in their color. I've already serviced this one at this point. I did that right after I washed up the parts on that one. And I've gone ahead and cleaned the UPC symbol, or what was left of it, off of the rods. So now the rods are looking like new. So the Zebco 202 version of Meyer's Lake and Trail trade name, circa 1991, and I don't know how many years thereafter, but there's a whole bunch of different versions of Lake and Trail. There's an older, I don't know, maybe it's newer. There's another 202 style one that's kind of black and green and so on and so forth, but very collectible among the especially the Zebco collectors. So hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.